Hi, everybody. This is day 14 of Imagine a Miracle every day. Imagine that every day a miracle can be something that you can have in your life by imagining it, and then that will bring forth miracles in your life. Isn't that amazing? Yes. This is going to be for Tuesday, November the 7th, which is tomorrow, 2023. And the chapter is going to be Luke. Yeah, Luke chapter 4, verses 16 to 30. Now, what I want you to understand is that this comes from when Jesus originally went up in the previous chapter and was transfigured. No, actually, not transfigured. This is when he went 40 days and was tempted. But now what he's done is come back down and he's in the synagogue at Nazareth. And I'm going to read this to you. Now, this is what you're going to want to imagine. So look at this beautiful scenery. And now what I want you to do is relax and be in your imagination where you're going to be imagining that you're seeing Jesus come back down into Nazareth, and he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up. So he lived there earlier in his life. And as his custom was, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. So that you can imagine that he's in the synagogue. You're in the synagogue. You're the one, you're being Jesus. You're in the synagogue. You stand up. You're going to be the one that's going to read. You know? How great. All right. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Esaias. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written. And here's what it said. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, and to set up liberty to them that are bruised, and to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book. So now he's said all these things. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to imagine that you've actually said all these things, and then you close the book, and the people are looking at him. They've listened to him. They've listened to you. He's looking around at them. They're looking at him. And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister and sat down. So you can imagine that, he closed the book, he gives it to the minister, he sits down. That's you. So you can imagine this imagine the scene in your mind, and you being Jesus. And the eyes of all of them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them this important, powerful thing. Only Jesus would say this, and you being that you're acting like Jesus, you're going to have the same power and energy come through you. He says, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. All right. And all bear him witness. So this just startles them. And they're like, what? What are you talking? And all bear him witness and wondered as the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, Is this not Joseph's son? They can't believe that Joseph's son is standing up here talking this stuff like he's the one fulfilling scripture. So you want to feel what's going on. You want to feel the indignation that they're feeling. You want to be confident as you're feeling how Jesus was, confident in who he is, because you got to be confident in who you are at all times. And he said unto them, ye will surely say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done to Capernaum, do also here in thy country. Like they're getting smart with him, saying, look, whatever you did over there in Capernaum. And we did the Capernaum, wasn't it yesterday? So here they are, they're like, okay, well, prove to us that you're supposed to be the Son of God with all this power. Now, the reason why you're going to be imagining all these things is because it's important for you to imagine, because this conjures up the power in you and activates the Christ in you. That's why it's important for you to read these out loud and portray these characters, because you want to be able to access the power in you for your life to change, for your life to transform, for you to have a healing, for you to have an awakening, so that you stop feeling powerless and stop feeling all these other feelings that have, messed you up for all your whole life. I promise you that this will happen if you follow this technique. Just do it for the 30 days. That's all you got to do. And he said, verily I say, no, here we go. But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the day of Elias, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land. Now he's talking to them, answering their little questions and their thoughts of doubt. But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel at the time of Eliseus the prophet, and none of them was cleansed. So you got to imagine. Now you actually can say these words as Jesus and say, look, you know what? I understand that you're saying that I have to prove myself, but you know what? In my own hometown, that is exactly how people act. Which you don't want to continue to think that. You want to be knowing that God can make anything happen anywhere you are. And none of them was cleansed, saying Naaman the Syrian. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath. Now here's the miracle. This is a secret miracle that I kind of thought people don't really know. And they rose up and thrust him out of the city. So you can imagine, they get up and they're picking him up or moving him with their, like a crowd moves the body of a person, so where they're forced to go the way that the crowd wants, and led him up into the brow of the hill whereon their city was built, that they might cast him down into the headlong. So they put him up on a hill. The crowd manages to push him all the way up on the hill. So you got to see this in your mind. Now, here's the miracle part. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way. That's the miracle. Some sort of way he becomes invisible. He has made himself so that whatever they were doing, whatever power they had to have pushed him up on the hill. Now you gotta have this in your own life, whatever some kind of forces and powers trying to push you up off some sort of cliff, you are going to trust God. And what happens is and you gotta see this in your mind, in some sort of way, he manages to walk through them and went his own way. That is incredible. He must have made himself invisible. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I can't do that, but guess what? There's some sort of power that God is going to give you to be able to make it past any kind of crowd that's trying to hold you down, do anything to you, etc. So that's the purpose of imagining these miracles every day, so that you can access the power in you. Because as you speak out the words of Jesus as though you're him, what do you think is going to happen? Of course, his spirit is going to get in. The Christ spirit is going to be in you, activated. All right, catch you tomorrow.